Good morning. 1 week ago, Pope Francis offered an Easter blessing from his balcony above St. Peter's Square. The next day, at 88 years old, the Pope succumbed to a stroke. Here to talk about Francis's life, his legacy, and how the new leader of the Roman Catholic Church will be selected is Bishop Juan Miguel Betancourt, the auxiliary bishop for the Archdiocese of Hartford. Bishop, welcome.
Thank you, Eric. Thanks for having me.
Tell me about that news coming to the Archdiocese on a very holy day.
Yes.
On the church calendar, to have the news that the Pope blessed the faithful in St. Peter's Square and then died the next day.
Well, I'm still kind of reeling from that shock, right? On Easter Sunday, I'm celebrating Mass, actually at the Basilica in Waterbury, and I'm telling during the homily to our people how that I've seen the Holy Father in the morning, greeting people at St. Peter's Square, his message for a good and holy Easter, and I thought, like probably everybody else, that the Holy Father was on the mend, right? And then next day in the morning early, as I was finishing my morning prayers and look at the phone, then the news. That was really shocking and sad. And of course, then phone calls from the priests, right? From brother bishops, just expressing our sadness and our kind of like shock, right? The surprise of having our Holy Father, within 24 hours from a big event, and then that he was already with the Lord.
Tell us about the significance of losing a pope, not necessarily this pope,
Yes.
but to the church, to lose that figurehead for the Roman Catholic Church. What is the significance of that to you as a bishop, but also just to parishioners?
Well, that's why we call the Pope the Holy Father, right? Because he's the father of all the church. He's not only our shepherd, but he's also our father, the one who's there, put by the Lord to take care of us in that sense. So that's the significance of it. When every time that we lose a pope, we're losing a spiritual father, the one that we look up to for guidance, for example, right? For ways of doing things, how to minister better, how to imitate the Lord. So it gets really, is a moment of sadness, right? There's always a moment of hope too, in the sense that the Lord is always going to provide with a new pope. But really is really heartbreaking every time, when we lose a pope.
Pope Francis was certainly known for sometimes straying away from some papal norms.
Yes.
The statement from the Archdiocese, Archbishop Coyne said he was often known for off-the-cuff and sometimes outrageous remarks.
Yes.
There's videos of him taking selfies with the faithful, of sometimes making comments that other popes might not have made.
Yes.
Did that add a level of familiarity, maybe for you and for others who saw him, that a more reserved pope might not have had, where you almost felt a little bit like you knew him personally a bit?
Yes. In my experience, this is my third pope, right? When I was ordained priest, I went to Rome. St. John Paul II was there. So I was in many events with St. John Paul II, and the way that he cared about people, right? Every pope is different. The same thing with Pope Benedict. When he got elected, I was also there. In my experience, my interactions with those popes were really unique. With Pope Francis, he emphasized always everybody, right? And he had a heart to be out there because he felt that it was the need for him to be out there with those who are forgotten, disadvantaged, right? And that made that kind of feel more personal, because he focused more on being out there, especially what he says, those who needed him the most. Yes.
I want to have time to talk about picking the next pope, but just
Sure.
on Pope Francis, what will his legacy be? And I want you to tell us, you've had some one-on-one interactions with him over the years.
Yes. So, which actually I'm going to cherish for the rest of my life, right? When I first met him, I was a priest working in seminary formation. I took seminarians there to Rome, and the public audiences, he will take time also to say hi to our seminarians and a word of encouragement, and me as a formator too. When I became a bishop, my experience with him personally, he made me a bishop. So in our visit at Limina, all the bishops of New England in November 2019, I had the opportunity to stay in Santa Marta where he lived. So I got to see him for a week every day, right? At meals. I ran into him twice in the hallway, and he asked me the first time how I was doing, how was my first year as a bishop. And the two times that personally I talked with him, he always finished like, pray for me, and a big smile, right? So that's how I got to know him, and that actually, of course, touched me personally. So now we will see, in this new conclave, his legacy. Pope Francis is, like I said, he was interested in seeing those who needed to see the face of the Lord, the face of Christ the most. The disadvantaged, the immigrants, those who are poor. That's what he emphasized so much for all of us, priests and lay people, all Christians, to go out to those and reach out to those most in need, those who need actually the support and the presence of the Lord through us.
Tell me about the process of picking a new pope. It's such a historically rooted process. Tell us what we'll be seeing over the coming days and weeks.
Well, now we see that people are paying their respects. On Saturday morning, we will have the funeral, and that's when we begin the novena of masses and prayers for the Holy Father. Right after that, every day will be celebrated Mass presided by a cardinal every day. And then at the end, the cardinals will enter into conclave. They will have a few meetings, what we call the general congregations. So that's going to be the opportunity for the cardinals to know each other better, have conversations, and discern through prayer and active conversation what the next pope needs to be. With what skills, virtues, vision, right? And hopefully they will get to know and discern who is going to be elected.
We only have about 30 seconds left, but in one article I read about Pope Francis, it said he was the first digital pope. He went on Facebook Live. As I said, he took selfies when he saw people as he was out in his travels. Do you believe that the digital pope being selected, the conclave with the black smoke and the white smoke, and it's also rooted in history, do our present times change that at all? Just a few seconds left.
I think this new pope, will be also familiar like Pope Francis, and I think that's our expectation and our kind of secret prayer as well. So yes, I think he will be somebody that will be in contact with the people, everybody.
Well, we'll all be watching very carefully. We so appreciate you bringing your personal anecdotes, but also your thoughts on behalf of the Archdiocese. Thank you so much for being here, Bishop. We appreciate having you.
Thanks for having me.